Let me tell you, I used to laugh at those nightmare HOA stories you see floating around online. Figured it was just cranky folks who can't handle a little structure. I thought, come on, how bad can it be? Well, I sure got my answer, and let me tell you, it hit me upside the head about 3 months after I moved into Clearwater Meadows up in Traverse City, Michigan. That's where the fun started, or maybe where the trouble started, depending on how you see it. So picture this. I'm Xavier Jennings, night shift nurse at Sun Medical Center, coming home every morning dead on my feet after 12 hours patching up heart attacks, broken bones, the whole 9 yards. And I find this certified letter jammed in my mailbox, big, official, with my name printed all bold, letting me know that, as of right now, snow removal before 8 a.m. is strictly forbidden. Not just a little, hey, could you keep it down? No. Penalty, $250 a pop. I stood there in my driveway, snow up to my shins, staring at that paper and thinking, you have got to be kidding me. Turns out, this was the brainchild of our brand new HOA president, Brenda Sutherland, a woman who could spot a rule violation from 3 blocks away and had a smile as warm as the sidewalk in February. Her and her posse of board members, all middle-aged, all apparently with nothing but time on their hands, had cooked up this masterpiece to protect the peaceful morning atmosphere of our little neighborhood. Now, I try to play by the rules at first, but what was I supposed to do? I get home at 7 a.m., exhausted, truck stuck in the snow, and now I'm supposed to just wait? Let the snow pile up, take a nap, then dig myself out after 8? Try doing that when you're running on 4 hours of sleep and have another shift ahead of you. Didn't take long before I realized this wasn't just annoying. It was dangerous, screwing up my sleep, making me a hazard on the roads, and turning my life into one long, cold, endless Monday. First time I broke the rule, I was out there at 7:10 a.m., shovel in hand, bundled up against the wind. And here comes Brenda, gliding across the street in boots worth more than my truck, hair perfect, voice sweet as antifreeze. Excuse me, Mr. Jennings, I assume you received the letter about the new snow removal policy? She laid out the whole thing. No shovels, no blowers, not so much as a broom before 8 a.m. or after 8 p.m., and if I had a problem, well, maybe I ought to find a different job. The nerve. I tried to argue my case at the next HOA meeting, half the neighborhood crammed into the community room, coffee urn hissing in the background, Brenda up at the front with that pageant winner smile, listening like she cared until I finished and she told me, maybe you should look for a job with more traditional hours. You ever been so mad you couldn't even see straight? That was me, right then. I went home and vented to my buddy Marcus at work. He lives in a normal neighborhood. Lucky guy. He told me, man, you got to fight back. Organize. So I started talking to neighbors, looking for support. Most of them were nice enough, but nobody wanted to rock the boat, especially over a rule that, honestly, only really screwed me. I was the only night shifter in the whole subdivision. But life has a funny way of delivering opportunities, and about then, the weather forecast went nuts. They started predicting a once-in-a-decade blizzard, 3 to 5 feet of snow over 2 days, whole city about to be buried. I saw my chance. Day before the storm, I went out and bought the baddest, biggest snow blower I could afford, filled up every gas can I owned, stocked my fridge, and waited for the chaos. That storm hit like a freight train. By the time I finished my shift and crawled home through whiteout conditions, my driveway was just a rumor under a mountain of snow, and every car on my block looked like a marshmallow. I parked in the garage, made some coffee, and watched the clock. 8 o'clock came and went, snow still dumping, neighbors out there with shovels, fighting a losing battle. I stayed inside, didn't lift a finger. Brenda's 2 cars sat in her driveway, untouched, getting absolutely entombed by the hour. Storm finally let up late that night, and when morning came, it was bright and clear and cold as the inside of a freezer. The whole city was shut down, schools, roads, even the hospital running on a skeleton crew. At 8 a.m. sharp, I rolled out my brand new snow blower, fired it up, and started clearing my driveway. Brenda stood on her porch, arms folded, watching me like a hawk. I took my time, made sure to get every inch. Her husband tried shoveling out their cars, bless him, but after an hour, he'd barely uncovered a side mirror. When I finished, I waved at Brenda. She didn't wave back. Not long after, knock on my door. Brenda, face red, hair a mess, ready to lecture me about community emergencies and how I should have helped dig people out. I told her, hey, I followed your rule. Didn't touch a thing before 8. If you wanted folks to be able to dig out during a blizzard, maybe you shouldn't have banned it. She sputtered, turned purple, called me selfish. And that was when I realized deep down she knew she'd messed up. Word got around. People missed appointments. Some couldn't get out for days. Pipes burst, medicine ran out, the whole works. Brenda called an emergency meeting, packed house, and tried to blame the chaos on people who chose convenience over community. I stood up, couldn't help myself, and called her out right there in front of everyone. You made the rule, Brenda. You wouldn't let us clear our driveways, and now you're blaming us for following your own policy? That was when Gerald Patterson, retired lawyer 2 streets over, piped up and dropped the hammer. According to the bylaws, the board can't create rules that prevent homeowners from maintaining their property. You never even held a vote with the whole community. Turns out, Brenda had overstepped her authority. In less than 15 minutes, we'd moved to suspend the snow rule, and within the hour, the board scheduled a vote for January. But I wasn't done. I filed a request to see all the complaints about snow removal noise. Brenda tried to stonewall me, but Gerald forced her hand. When the dust settled, there were 3 emails total, one from a neighbor on the far side of the subdivision, one about car engines, and one for Brenda herself complaining about morning chaos. That was it. No uprising, no petition, just a handful of petty gripes and Brenda's personal vendetta. Come January, the whole neighborhood voted. Overwhelming majority repealed the rule. Brenda tried to save face, lecturing us all about peace and quiet and community standards. I pointed out her whole policy was built on sand, 3 emails, and a power trip. Brenda lost her cool, snapped at me in front of everyone, and then, in a twist I'll never forget, Gerald moved for a vote of no confidence. The whole room erupted, paper ballots were handed out, and when they counted the votes, Brenda was out. Gone. Board cleaned house, brought in new folks, and peace returned to Clearwater Meadows. Well, almost. 2 weeks later, Brenda tried one more Hail Mary, had her lawyer send me a lawsuit for defamation, claiming I'd ruined her reputation. Gerald represented me. We took it to court, and the judge tossed her case so fast her attorney barely finished his opening. Judge even ordered Brenda to pay my legal fees, and, at mediation, forced her to sign an agreement never to mess with me again. After that, Brenda and her husband sold their house, vanished down to Florida. The new HOA president, Robert Chun, was a regular guy who focused on things that actually mattered. The ridiculous rules disappeared, and the neighborhood slowly got back to what it should have been in the first place. Just folks looking out for each other. Funny thing, the same winter Brenda left, we got another good snowstorm. I cleared my driveway at 7 a.m. like always, then did my elderly neighbors too. Not because anyone made me, because that's what community is. That's what Brenda never got. You want to know the lesson? Here's what sticks with me. These HOA horror stories, they're real. Sometimes they're even worse than you hear. But you can fight back if you stand your ground and know your rights. Malicious compliance is a beautiful thing. If someone writes a stupid rule, sometimes the best way to show just how stupid it is to follow it exactly, to the letter, and let the consequences pile up like 4 feet of snow. Looking back, I don't regret a thing. Brenda brought all this on herself, chasing power instead of listening, making rules instead of building trust. She wanted control, but what she really needed was a little common sense and maybe a friend or two. She thought she was untouchable, and in the end, she lost everything: her power, her reputation, even her place in the community. Clearwater Meadows is better off now. The rules make sense, there's some give and take, people actually talk to each other. Leaders who listen, neighbors who help out when someone's in a bind, not just call the board and file a complaint. That's the difference between a place you just live and a place you call home. So what do you think? Was I wrong to follow the rule and let Brenda's cars get buried? Or was that justice? Where's the line between enforcing order and just plain old power tripping? I want to know what you'd have done, or If you've got a story of your own about fighting back when the rules went too far, drop your thoughts below. Tell me where you're watching from, and if you've ever tangled with a Brenda yourself. Let's hear how you handled it, because sometimes the best way to keep a community strong is to talk about what nearly tore it apart.